Welcome to week 2 and our discussion on learning management systems. This week we'll start to explore the various families of LMS, take a little bit of time to examine what comprises a learning management system, and at the end of it you'll start to determine your own direction for the selection of an LMS or the creation of your own ad hoc LMS as part of your use case scenario. Looking at the week, we're going to begin today by previewing what these LMS environments are. We're going to discuss a little bit about the components of learning management systems. And then we're going to turn you loose in an exploration of learning management systems that you will then leverage so that you can employ it as part of your own use case scenario. The use case scenarios that we develop are going to carry through this entire course if you so choose. If you already find yourself in an environment where a learning management system is present, then it makes far more sense for you to dive into and really understand what's under the hood of those systems. But it's also important for you to know what the limitations of those systems are, so that when you do encounter something that is an obstruction, that you can create a way around that so that you can best benefit your learner. So let's take a look at some of the different families of learning management systems that exist. We'll begin with the premium. Premium LMSs are things like Blackboard, Angel. I know Keith had mentioned Westlaw. They're learning management systems that evolve around a particular culture or use case, and often the structure of that learning management system dictates how learning occurs within that environment. The next option that we have falls under the category of free and open source solutions, or FOSS. FOSS solutions include Moodle, which Plymouth State uses. There's also Sakai, and I'm sure many folks have heard of EDX, which came out of MIT's labs. There's also a loose family that's considered ad hoc digital learning environments. Those learning environments that are created to meet a specific need, whether that is to flip learning in a classroom, in a small environment, or to be able to leverage that into the next option that you see listed on the screen, which is a MOOC, a massive open online course. Regardless of which you choose, the components of an LMS carry through whether you're talking about the premium, the FOSS solutions, or even what you end up creating in your own ad hoc LMS. You have to have some sort of content management process. So you've got content that you need to be able to deliver. Somehow this solution that you have has to be able to store and produce that to your learner at an appropriate time. So the content management system may be as simple as just a file repository, or it could be as complex as something that allows you to create content within the framework of that LMS, and also provide some sort of timing and release structure so that your learners are exposed to material at a time when they're developmentally appropriate or developmentally ready for it. LMSs also provide some means of communication. Here in Moodle, you'll notice that we have forums. Communications methodologies can also include instant messaging, email systems, message boards. There are a number of different ways to be able to communicate. Communication tools also includes a methodology for submitting work. The third component that you'll often find in learning management systems are collaboration tools. These tools can include shared whiteboarding, web conferencing, co-creation tools. A great example of that is Google Docs. If you've ever had to work collaboratively with somebody on a document, a spreadsheet, or a presentation in Google, their bread and butter is on the ability for people, regardless of time, space, and location to be able to work on a product together. Moving on, many LMSs also include a means of assessment. So how do you quiz, test, assess what your learners have learned to gauge whether or not they get it? How do you grade or report that progress? Are you using a numeric or a points-based system? Are you using a competency-based system? Does your solution provide a means for rubrics? Many folks who are employing the Google ecosystem have leveraged a plugin called Gubrick, which is a Google rubric creator. Regardless, you're going to want to take a look at what the assessment tool is that exists in your environment, whether it's robust enough to meet your needs, and whether or not you're going to need to augment that with some sort of additional supporting application. Lastly, LMSs, particularly those that are the robust and industry or enterprise level, have some sort of course and user management structure available. You don't want to have to go through the process of recreating a course every time you teach it. So oftentimes we'll create a course, we'll have our content available, and then we'll roll that content over, make the modifications in the new shell without having to do the heavy lifting of recreating that entire course. That process also allows us to dump users from a prior semester or a prior class cohort and add new users in. So again, the components of LMSs that you'll find are content management, communication tools, collaboration tools, assessment tools, and administrative tools. What you're going to do is set your context. What that means is you're going to take the use case scenario that you've laid out, whether it is working in healthcare and you're meeting a specific client's desire to have a specific course developed and delivered to a cohort of users. You're going to use that user context. You're going to evaluate several learning management systems, and then you're going to write a reflection that shows how that particular system either meets the requirements that you have for your employer and your learners, or doesn't, and then you'll also use that opportunity to explain how you might backfill some of those pieces that you find lacking. Additional details will be provided in the content areas for the assignments themselves. If you have any questions, please throw that into our forum. That will be an opportunity for us to share some of our thoughts, our concerns, or the questions that we have about learning management systems as a whole.